Hi. I first want to thank you for coming out. I've really enjoyed listening to you speak. I am against your personal beliefs and whatever. And I wanted to ask, because you're, talking about how we shouldn't trust the government, we shouldn't trust all these people, and I'm curious because I noticed in your speech, when you're speaking, you commit a lot of logical fallacies. And I can give you some examples such as composition, division, ad hominems, and, many, many others. And I learned about these in my rhetoric class because my class, which was very, very Republican driven, wanted us to be good arguers, so that way
Do you mind getting to the question? Because we have a lot of people that are waiting.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Thank you.
I just want to say, why should we trust you? What's the point if you're going to commit all these fallacies? Why should we believe in you specifically?
Okay, well, if you think that anything that I have said today, and just try to stick to the facts and don't focus too much on what you perceive to be logical fallacies, just go look up Margaret Sanger, go look up Lyndon Baines Johnson, go look up the things that I'm telling you, and let me tell you that if you look that up and what you find out is that I completely lied today, then you shouldn't trust me. The reason why I'm standing up here is because I'm confident that I am sharing with people the truth. The reason why I'm still up here, by the way, despite the fact that the entire media, an entire Democratic establishment, an entire BLM nation that was built overnight has been against me. The reason why my audience continues to grow is because when you are for truth and you are for God, who can be against you? You're going to win. Thank you for your question.
Hi, I had an honest question for you because I feel like your grandfather's story is very inspiring. But you say that people complain so much. But if people didn't complain in those days and fight for people's rights and fight for feminism, which is just equality for women, then you wouldn't be on the stage today and I wouldn't be here asking you this question. And so if people aren't complaining, as you say, and fighting for rights, then nothing would happen. So how can you reconcile these differences?
Yeah, so first I want to say I understand your sentiment because when I was your age I thought the same thing, that feminism is just about equality. One of the brilliant things that the left does is they repackage words. It's clearly not feminism anymore. It's designed to actually rip apart women and men, to make women paranoid about men all the time, and every industry is controlled by a man, and to make being on your own, I want to do all by myself, aspirational, right? It's about all my single ladies, who needs a man. So just because you're using the word feminism, it doesn't mean that it is feminism, right? And as best evidenced by the fact that they just keep using it when obviously we are on equal footing with men, and unless you can tell me what you're not allowed to do as a woman in society that men are allowed to do, right? That would be like a systemic problem that we would need to fix. And so also I want to just remind you that I said earlier that you don't know true history, and when you wake up to the evils of feminism, and I had just brought up the influx of immigrants that came from Russia after they shot the Tsar in 1881. These people were demonic. They were fixated on breaking up the family. Look up a woman named Emma Goldman. She's a true psychopath, and she's the one that inspired Margaret Sanger. They liked death, right? They were creating a cult of death and destruction everywhere, all across the world. And just to be clear, the earliest iteration of a feminist that you're talking about that you deem to be heroic would be Margaret Sanger. That's a first wave feminist, and she hated me. So please, I think you should be very understanding and awake when you step to a person of color and say, these people did amazing things for you, because like I said, almost 80 million Black American children have been murdered because of that woman. So I feel nothing towards those feminists. And when I look around and I see women who are now crying on TikTok, and they don't understand, they did everything they were supposed to do, and I actually empathize and sympathize with them, and then suddenly they're in the world and they're making $25,000 a year and they can't do bad all by themselves, single ladies, and actually their bodies start coming online and their biology starts coming online, and they actually want to get married and have children, and they're realizing that they've stepped into a design that they were promised was going to be, as you hear, it's just going to be great, it's all going to be amazing, and it actually isn't that amazing. I don't know why. What are we even fighting anymore? Men holding doors? That's the new feminist cause? Like, no, equality means don't hold the door. No, I like when men pay for my meals. I love when my husband pays for my meals when we're recording. I like having the door held for me. In a perfect world, our society was so much better when women were involved every single day with their children before we handed them over to the Department of Education. And so I do not see feminism as having accomplished anything in our society. I actually think it was a nightmare that is being repackaged published in our textbooks. So I would implore you to just do a little more research and start with Emma Goldman.
Thanks for coming. I agree with you. I wish there were more liberals out here. I think that would be great. So you said that liberals these days just love talking about trans people. But I watch your show and others on the Daily Wire, and you seem to talk about trans people way more than your liberal counterparts. Do you really think that liberals are the ones who are obsessed with trans people?
So I don't think I said liberals, because like I said, it's just becomes like the new thing, and it's the entire media, and you could say it's left wing, but I like to not say liberals, because actually what I've realized is it's just a radical group of individuals. I have people in my family that are liberals. They don't want to support this nonsense. So I have tried to change my language over time on that. I talk about this issue on my show repeatedly because I can't think of anything more satanic, and what you're hearing come across is I'm a mom now, right? I'm a mom now. So the concept of me sending my child to a school, the concept of that child intentionally via laws that were passed, a la California, of misgendering my child, the concept of via laws that were passed in states like California, the state then being allowed to take my child for my refusal to call them by something that they're not, especially with my understanding of medically what happens to children that are put onto hormones. I am particularly angry when it comes to any issue that involves children, right? So that's why I do a whole series on vaccines. It's why I talk about transgenderism on my show. The way that I have been radically transformed as a political speaker since becoming a mom, what you're noticing is the mama bear instinct, and I will fight to the death to protect my cubs.
I listened to your podcast with Georgienko last week.
Oh.
And I'm wondering, what is your relationship with Vivek Ramaswamy? What are your thoughts on him? And do you believe he's the best option for Trump's VP after Nikki suspended her campaign today?
Nikki, I'm going to miss her. Vivek Ramaswamy, like I said on the Georgienko podcast, there are just some individuals that come along in life and just genetically something goes unbelievably right? He's moving at a pace, his mind is able to understand really complicated concepts at the speed of light, and his thirst for knowledge, it's got to be frustrating to be him. I think he just all day in and day out, just wants to know everything all the time, and to see that, like I was so inspired by it. I really realized how much we have lowered the bar in America in terms of the brilliance that was, by the way, our founding fathers, the way they used to write. I mean, read the Federalist Papers, right? And then consider their ages. Well, when this was being written, go read, by the way, for fun. Civil War, never went to college, had no education. 18-year-olds who were writing letters to their mom. Sounds like poetry. It's unbelievable how intelligent people were just naturally. Vivek Ramaswamy, I hope and pray that we get him as a president in the future, right? Barring anything crazy that could happen. I trust my gut instincts on people, and he is amazing. As a vice president, I don't know, because the vice presidential role, I think, would be very complicated with a personality as big as Trump's and a mind as thirsty and hungry as Vivek. So I don't know if that works. I would love to see him in the cabinet. I'd love to just see him just destroy the Department of Education, something along those lines where we could really put him to work, because sometimes the vice presidential role is just kind of like, you know what I'm saying. So I do want him in government. I'd like to see him as president, and right now I prefer him on the cabinet would be my answer. In the cabinet.